For any nonprofit, trust is everything, right? It's your most valuable currency. And a huge part of that trust is built on how you handle donor data. So today, we're going to break down exactly how to protect that information, your donors, and of course, the future of your mission.
All right, let's just jump right in with a number that, well, it should make you sit up a little straighter. 68%. That's how many nonprofits have been hit with a data breach in just the last 3 years. This isn't some far-off threat. It's happening right now to organizations just like yours. And if a breach happens, the consequences, wow, they are staggering. The average cost of a data breach here in the US has climbed to nearly $9.5 million. For a lot of nonprofits, a hit like that isn't just a setback. I mean, it could literally be the end of the line.
So really, this all boils down to one simple question. This isn't just about protecting ones and zeros, it's about protecting your cause. Is your mission truly protected? Because in today's world, data security and mission security are pretty much the exact same thing.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get a handle on the risk, why nonprofits are such a target. From there, we'll get into building your digital defenses, securing your team, your human firewall, and creating a proactive plan. We'll wrap it all up with the first concrete steps you can take the second this is over. So why are nonprofits such a prime target anyway? Well, it's kind of a perfect storm, really. You're handling incredibly sensitive personal and financial data, but let's be honest, often with pretty limited IT resources. Plus, you've got amazing volunteers, but their access to key information can create its own security challenges that you really have to manage carefully.
But the good news? There's a really clear path forward. It's this 5-step framework that can build a super powerful defense. We're going to walk through how to encrypt your data, control who has access, audit your systems, keep everything up to date, and, this is a big one, empower your people.
All right, let's start with the tech side of things. This is all about building your digital fortress, those essential technical safeguards that are your very first line of defense against any attacks.
And the cornerstone of that fortress, it's encryption. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It's just the process of turning readable data into unreadable code. That means even if a hacker gets their hands on your files, the information is totally useless to them without the specific key to unlock it.
Now, it's super important to protect data in 2 different states. You've got data at rest, that's info just sitting there on a server or a laptop, and then you have data in transit, that's when it's actively moving, like when a donor is filling out a form on your website. Both of these points are vulnerable, so both of them have to be encrypted.
Okay, another really powerful tool in your belt is something called tokenization. So instead of storing a donor's actual credit card number, the system swaps it out for a random, meaningless token. The real number is stored safely with your payment processor. This is awesome, because if you get breached, all the hackers get is a bunch of useless tokens.
And the last piece of this digital fortress? Updates. You know how we all click Remind Me Later? Well, those software updates aren't just for new emojis. They contain critical security patches that close the exact gaps hackers are looking for. Seriously, keeping your systems current is one of the easiest and most effective things you can do. But here's the thing. Technology is only half the battle. Your strongest and sometimes, let's be real, your weakest line of defense is your people. Your staff, your volunteers, they are your human firewall, and securing them is absolutely critical.
And if you need proof of why that firewall is so important, get this. A staggering 88% of all data breaches involve a human element. Yup, it could be someone clicking a bad link or using a weak password. This isn't about pointing fingers, it's about realizing that training your team is just as important as installing all the tech.
So how do you actually manage that human element? You start with a simple idea, the principle of least privilege. You do this with something called role-based access control. It just means people should only have access to the data they absolutely need to do their job. You know, your event coordinator probably doesn't need to see detailed donation histories, but your development director sure does. This just limits the damage if an account ever gets compromised.
Okay, check this out. More than half of all nonprofits are still not using multi-factor authentication. That is a huge vulnerability, especially when we know MFA blocks 99.9% of attacks that try to steal passwords. It is one of the simplest things you can do for a massive boost in protection. And you can't just send out an email saying, "Be careful." You have to actually train people to be vigilant. Doing things like fake phishing email tests is so key. It helps build what the experts call a culture of vigilance, which basically turns your whole team into a proactive defense system.
So you've built your digital fortress, you've trained your human firewall. You're done, right? Well, not quite. The thing is, security isn't a one-time project you can just check off a list. It's an ongoing process of review, maintenance, and always being prepared.
And being proactive doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's all about getting into a simple rhythm. Maybe every week you clean up duplicate records. Every quarter you review who has access to what. And twice a year you do a full security audit. This kind of schedule makes continuous improvement feel totally manageable.
Another big part of being proactive is practicing what's called data minimization. The logic here is so simple. You can't lose what you don't have. If a donor hasn't been in touch for over 2 years, you should really think about removing their profile. Just holding on to data you don't need just increases your risk if something bad happens.
All right, I know we've covered a ton of ground, so let's bring it all home and talk about your first, most impactful steps. And the best part is, you don't need a massive budget to make a huge difference.
Here's what you could literally start on tomorrow. First, do a quick audit to find your weak spots. Second, create and actually enforce a strong password policy. Third, turn on encryption for your databases. A lot of platforms have this ready to go. And finally, schedule a basic cybersecurity training for everyone, staff and volunteers. Just these 4 things will give you a major security boost.
At the end of the day, the best defense, especially in a worst-case scenario, is just knowing what you need to do. Having a plan is everything. How you respond in those first few hours of a breach can be the difference between a small problem and a total disaster that hurts your reputation for years.
So, we'll leave you with this one question. Protecting your data is protecting your mission. It's protecting your donors and the community you work so hard for. After hearing all this, the risks and the solutions, what's the very first step you and your organization are going to take?